Jake's POV. I was sitting at a cold metal table in an interrogation room. In front of me were two officers. One was from HMRC and the other was a police officer from my city. Apparently they wanted to talk with me about some abnormalities in my personal banking account. I can't say I blame them. If I was a banker and noticed over £100,000 suddenly appeared in a person's account out of the blue, I'd notice and call HMRC too. So, where'd you get the money? The HMRC officer, his name was Detective Harewood, asked. If this is about my taxes, I was pretty sure I filed them correctly. If there was any mistake, I'm happy to pay the difference, I said nervously. I have 4 wyverns, experienced mages and corrupt nobles, but this was still making me sweat. It's drugs, right? Nobody just happens to find £100,000 in the dirt outside. Just tell us who you were selling to, and you might get off easy, the local officer said. I think she said her name was Detective Lynn. No, I'm not selling drugs, I denied. Then how do you explain the money? Did a little birdie just leave it on your front door? Detective Harewood asked. I admit for a second I panicked. He was closer than he realized, after all. My brain kinda went blank for a second, as I just sat there with a dumb look on my face and my mouth open. I sold stuff, but not drugs, just like legal stuff. Really? Because according to your credit card report, you spent over £300 on bulk purchases of paper in the last year, Detective Lynn said. Yeah, I sold paper and stuff. I bought it in bulk and sold it, I said. You bought paper and managed to sucker someone into giving you money for it? You must have been charging £1,000 per sheet, Detective Harewood said. Here's what we think. You bought the paper and made cash. Literally. You think I was counterfeiting? I asked, shocked. My stomach was in knots already, and this wasn't helping. I think I want to talk to a lawyer. And do you realize how guilty that makes you look? Detective Lynn said in a cold, calm way. If you aren't doing anything illegal, why do you need a lawyer? I suddenly remember the advice my dad used to say when I first started driving. If you get arrested, no matter what happens, always ask for the duty solicitor. I want to talk to the duty solicitor, I said. I wish I could say I sounded confident, but my voice cracked halfway through. Fine, Detective Harewood said, and have a follow me head nod to Detective Lynn. They called the station's duty solicitor, and he came to talk with me. It took half an hour for him to arrive, though. All the while I was stuck in that interrogation room that was at least 3 degrees too cold for humans to live in, or maybe that was just the chills running down my spine. The duty solicitor was an overweight middle-aged man with dark brown skin, a bald head and a charcoal grey suit. His name was Lawrence. As soon as he arrived, he started talking. He went over all my rights, asked if I needed to call anyone, and asked if I had a personal lawyer I needed or wanted to call. I called my mum and let her know what was happening and to call our lawyer, then had a long conversation with the duty solicitor. Everything we say to each other is just between us. Nothing gets reported to the police, he said. I didn't do anything, I said. Okay, that's good. Can you explain to me what happened then? Lawrence asked. I can't. I'm not going to lie to you. That is not a great response. I really didn't commit any crimes. At least I don't think I did. So why can't you explain? Because I get put into a mental institution. Also, no one would believe me, I said, sighing. Do you think you should be put into a mental institution? Lawrence asked. No, I said, after thinking about it for a second. He didn't look convinced, but moved on anyway. If it isn't illegal, why do the police think you committed a crime? He asked. Lawrence interlocked his fingers and placed his elbows forwards on the table. His hands and arms were now making a triangle in front of his body. Because it looks illegal to an outside observer. I'm going to give you some professional legal advice. Don't say that, whether it be in court or to any of these officers. Yeah. So let me hear some context to what is going on. I know you can't explain in detail, but what about generally? Generally? I thought for a moment. Yeah, I think I can do that. Basically, my friend Sue and I started selling things to rich people, and charging a lot of money for it. Well, that is certainly not illegal. Why paper? Lawrence asked. Because they wanted it. I really don't have any reason better than that. Okay. I should also note, I stopped doing this a few months ago. I had to move, so I lost everyone who wanted to buy from me. And what crime are they accusing you of, exactly? None of this sounds like enough reason to suspect you of breaking the law, he asked. They think I'm counterfeiting money. Because you bought and sold paper? I should probably say that I made over £100,000 doing this, I admitted. Okay, things are starting to make sense now. Lawrence leaned back, taking his elbows off the table and dropping his hands to his sides. Do you have any proof that you made the money legally? I doubt it. There was no paper trail, no receipts, and I was paid entirely in gold coins. As soon as I said that last part, I quickly added on with, but I can't explain why. Lawrence looked at me for a second, probably questioning his life choices, and wondering how he got to this point. I felt his pain. Gold coins? He asked. Yes, I still have some at my apartment, actually. Alright, do you happen to have a therapist? He asked. Ah, great, he thinks I'm crazy, I thought. But answered him anyway. I do. Great, I'd like to get her number from you if I could, as well as an emergency contact if you have one. I think he had his fill of me and wanted someone he thought was sane. I decided to go along with it, hoping maybe Dr. Maxwell could convince him I was sane at least. I gave him her number, and my mum's number as well. After that, he left the room to make the calls. About 10 minutes later, Lawrence came back in. She says you're mentally stable, but that you occasionally have hallucinations. I told her about everything in my last appointment. She knew everything already, after all. Your mother is also on her way with your family's lawyer. My legal advice to you, Mr. Vandal, is to do whatever your lawyer tells you to do, and to not answer any questions he doesn't talk to you about first. You may have an insanity defense, but your therapist claims you're of sound mind. Personally, I switched therapists. That one doesn't seem to be very good. I can see why you think that, I said flatly, with my head in my hands. After that, Lawrence left. It only took an hour for my mum and Robert, our family lawyer, to arrive. We also called Dr. Maxwell and put her on speaker. I'd explained the situation to her before Robert arrived, so she knew to play along. After talking, we came up with a moderate plan of action. Basically, tell the truth, let Robert do the talking and only speak when spoken to. After we came up with that plan, the officers came back and they resumed the interrogation. Can you explain how you acquired the money in question? Detective Lynn asked. Legally through buying and selling merchandise to customers, I said. Robert had prepared me for a few of the questions they might ask, and said I should follow a basic script even if they didn't ask those questions exactly. According to our records, you have been unemployed for almost a year and a half now, Detective Harewood pointed out. That is correct, I said, and looked over at Robert, who nodded slightly at me, letting me know I was still on script. So how do you explain the money? Harewood asked. You will find that my client reported all his profits from those transactions on his tax reports, Robert interrupted. We weren't suggesting that Mr. Vandal was hiding his taxes, but rather the means at which the money itself was gained is being called into question, Detective Lynn said. I assure you, all of the money my client has was acquired legally. Absolutely, I stated. Right, and Mr. Vandal, can you tell us again how you were able to sell paper for over £100,000? Detective Harewood asked. 100,000? Robert asked, shocked. Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I apologized. Well, the price of the merchandise is meaningless. The point is that it was all acquired legally, Robert said, stumbling over his first few words. Can you prove that? Detective Lynn asked. Can you prove that it wasn't? Robert asked. Detectives Lynn and Harewood glanced at each other for a moment, then back to us. You have to admit it's ridiculous. My client does not have to admit anything. You have been accusing him of illegal actions without enough evidence, and he does not need to take such an affront. He came to this interview willingly and without any warrants, thus he is free to leave. Let's go, Jake. Robert started to stand up, but he was an older fellow, so it wasn't a quick endeavour. With that, we left. Mum was waiting for us outside in the car park. Jake, are you okay? I'm fine, Mum, I said and hugged her. Thank you, Robert, Mum said and hugged him too. It's no problem, but Jake, they're not just going to let this go.